Good morning. We'd like to welcome you to BlackUSA.News morning show. My name is Donnie Glover, publisher of Black USA. Please pick up a copy of Unapologetically Black. We also have a second book coming out on Black Wall Street. All right. Good morning, Marsha Jews.
Good morning. How's everybody? This is a wonderful day the Lord has made. Let us be glad in it.
All right. So, good morning, Kaved. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good, good. So listen, we have two guests with us. First, we're going to start with Raina Smallwood. Marsha, you won't believe this. Number one, she's a friend of Catalina Bird.
Family.
You're not going to say no? Okay, and then she has Adorn vintage furniture.
Oh, I love it.
Nice.
I love it.
Yes.
So do you refurbish the furniture?
Yes, I find the pieces, I refurbish them, I reupholster them, and then I sell them back to the community.
Can we see any?
Oh, do I have anything? I don't have anything here at home. I'm at home. I'm not at the store. I wish I could have.
Where are you located?
I am in Mount Vernon, so I'm right off of Charles and Eager Street.
Oh, wonderful. That's a great location.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of traffic
at
in normal times. Yeah, that's great.
It is.
When did
Even
you open?
now, it's been a lot of foot traffic. I opened officially December 5th.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm
Thank you. I
excited
was
for
very
you.
nervous right now, but it's been great.
Do you do the work yourself?
Yes, everything is done in the shop, and that's how I'm able to keep my prices so reasonable.
Nice.
So how did you learn how to refurbish furniture? This is exciting because I love used furniture and having it transformed. So this is like right up my bailiwick. So what got you into this?
So furniture has always been a thing for me. Like when I was a kid, me and my mom used to go on Saturdays thrifting. So she would find pieces and bring them home, and she would fix them up, and she was always fixing up the house. So it just stuck with me, all of those years. And then my mother-in-law, she started going to auctions, and one time I went with her, and I was like, this is it. I can do this too. Like, let's do it. So then I started just collecting pieces, and I built up an inventory, and that was it.
So, okay, this is really interesting. So you take couches that are all raggedy and they have holes in them, and then what do you do?
Sometimes I don't do a lot of couches, but like a dresser, for example.
Okay.
If I find a dresser that has great bones, I can either resand it, I can repaint it, I can change the knobs on it. It really depends on the piece and what it says to me that it needs.
Do you get a lot of frames? Picture frames?
Some frames. The thing about the store is I try to always get pieces that I love. And that's usually what the store is built around. So then when people come, then I feel like they find pieces that they love as well.
That's huge though, because now that's part of your spirit, right? And that goes into the design of it. So that's amazing.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
I'm
you
very
so
proud
much.
of you. And when COVID's over, I'm going to come through.
Yes, please. When COVID's over, I'm going to have a party.
I'm excited. That's great. And that traffic over there, they're very committed to that whole neighborhood.
They really are. Like I already have, I'm about 6-7 weeks in, and I've had regulars come in every Saturday religiously, So it's amazing. It's amazing to be a part of that community.
That community, right. And P.S. by the way, excuse me one second. I'm glad to see you because there are very few Black people in that neighborhood handling their business. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's huge. And really proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So you opened up your store in December. When did you first have the idea for creating this opportunity for yourself?
So this is actually my second furniture store. prior to this, I had a business called Cedar and Cotton with myself and my business partner. And back in March, April, you know, we had to start shutting everything down. And so we used the time to kind of refocus and kind of focus more on our own personal goals. So over the summer, July, I was like, okay, we shut everything down. I was like, I'm going to continue this. Like, this is my dream. I got to stay in the furniture business. So I worked with the amazing couple behind Dovecote Cafe.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yes. Well, they helped me with the crowdsourcing. So I was trying to raise $10,000 to get started, and they matched every donation up to $5,000.
Wow, that's
Yes.
huge, girl.
Yes. So they were a huge part of the reason why I am, you know, I have my business now. So
Oh my
I hit my
goodness.
goal, and I was able to find the space. It actually happened that someone that I worked with previously, I did a lot of set designs for Creative Mornings in Baltimore. And one of the hosts had a space that they were subleasing, and that's how I found the space. And, you know, everything truly just fell into place.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
That's
is
awesome.
wonderful.
Yeah.
You know what? And that's the spirit. We were talking about the other day, Doni, about how Black people need to help each other, not support one another's business. But this is beyond the norm, right? For them to just take you on and say, look, let us show you how we can help you.
Yes.
And that's what we need to be. And I think back in the day, there's a name for it. When you help each other, you know, coming back to help.
Forward.
No, it's not that.
No.
I'll think of it, and in the middle of the next conversation, I'll blurt it out. But anyway, you see his gray hair, right? But you know, it's huge. That's huge.
But we've seen that too. Even yesterday, I'm thinking about LaShawn and how she has cultivated some of the girls who have worked with her in her shop, and now they have their own shops. You know, so we're seeing it's just like what David was talking about, you know, on Monday when he's saying, you know, that he was able to pay it forward, you know, and being able to see the benefit of our community being able to grow and come together. That is what we do. You know, he said the statistics, I think, from the CDC show that there are more Black men who are a good influence in their children's lives and take the time to actually focus in on them. So it's not that the positive is not there. It's we have to take an opportunity to focus on the positive. And that's why I'm so grateful for this platform, because BlackUSA.News is an opportunity for us to focus on that positive. And so that's awesome, Raina. You have that story of another Black business owner helping to support you.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Raina, is there a website?
Yes. The website is adornvintagefurniture.com. And also all of my social media is Adorn Vintage Furniture, all one word.
Awesome. So that's on Facebook and Instagram?
Yes.
Okay.
Outstanding.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Hey, Michael Eugene Johnson, welcome.
Thank you, and welcome everybody. What an interesting story. I was typing up your pages as you were talking to me, and just to have the opportunity to, you know, to meet with someone that's into the furniture business is not only.
I see the baby. Where's the baby?
I'm sorry, y'all.
Girl, let your baby do anything your baby want to do.
Look, here he is.
Oh,
this is Maximus.
What's his name?
Maximus.
Oh, hey, Maximus. I love it.
That's right. Entrepreneur in training.
That's
What's
it.
up,
That's
brother?
it.
What's up, brother?
So I had him in
Maximus.
March.
That's so
cute. Transitioning. Yeah.
Generations. And that's what we have to do. That's what we have to do.
That's the goal.
Raina, let's get your contact information one more time so we can make sure everybody knows all about Adorn Vintage Furniture. I love the name, by the way. Yes. It says what you do. Some people have names that are all over the place, but who cannot understand that? I mean, Adorn. Not a dummy. I was like,
that's it.
Adorn. Spell it. I think that's what I was saying to
so
myself.
much. Thank you. So again,
Good
everything, my website is adornvintagefurniture.com, all one word. And my Facebook and Instagram is also Adorn Vintage Furniture, all one word.
Okay. Thank you,
And
Raina.
located where?
And we are at 1004 Morton Street in Mount Vernon.
Do you also rent furniture?
Yes, I am slowly restocking my rental furniture inventory.
Okay, cool.
And you
that
take
sounds
credit
like
cards?
I sure do.
That sounds like a contract.
Credit card.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Marsh is treating everyone today.
Treating you
Raina,
to
thank
another
you so
smile.
Thank you
Raina,
so
thank
much
you
for
for
having me.
joining
I
us.
truly appreciate it.
Thanks, baby.
And take care of
Thank you,
Maximus.
and good luck.
And thanks for bringing
Entrepreneur.
Maximus with you.
Sure. Thanks.
All the best to you.
Thank you.
Well, I just couldn't leave Donnie here. Every time I turn on, Donnie's got 3 incredible sisters in him. So I said, well, no, Donnie. I said, you got to have some brothers in there to help you out, because boy, they be banking you sometimes, Donnie. You ain't got a chance sometimes. So Donnie reached out.
What'd you say? This is a backup?
Oh yeah, this is backup. I'm his wingman.
Back up.
We have with us, ladies and gentlemen, Tamara Brown. How are you, Miss Brown? Mrs. Brown.
I'm very well, thanks. Good morning to all of you. What a pleasure to be here this morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Finally, right?
Family, she's a bona fide lawyer.
I'm not licensed in Maryland. I'm not licensed yet, but I have completed law school. That's a disclaimer.
All right.
My husband is a bona fide attorney, yes.
But you're on your way.
Yes, yes. I'm no longer with the city, and I'm working on that. I'm sorry, Donnie. Continue.
Everything is fine. I work for the people, and according to my sources, you have been a champion for the people here in the city of Baltimore in a realm that is so near and dear to my heart. Black business. I hate the term minority because I'm not one. I am a part of the majority culture worldwide.
Yes.
But in any event, in the city of Baltimore, if you want to do business in the state of Maryland in the United States, you have to categorize us as a minority if you want to get into the minority business enterprise program. And Tamara stood where no one has stood before. She stood up for us in an unprecedented fashion. And it's my understanding that she was holding prime contractors accountable.
What happened?
When prime contractors do not hire Black subs, or in this case, minority subs, there should be a penalty, Marsha Jews. What do you think the penalty should be?
That they have to give up a percentage of their contract to a Black contractor.
They got to pay.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think should happen, Michael Johnson?
Well, exactly what's been happening. Also, their license should be questionable.
Right.
Question their license at any given time. If they do something wrong, then they should be punished to the fullest extent, and the reward goes to the people who do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's all she did.
I love it.
So how did that happen?
So what happened for that to occur? What happened?
What happened in that process?
It's been my understanding that the elected officials in the city of Baltimore did not appreciate her efforts.
So what happened?
So what happened?
People that played out on. No, I'm just joking.
So again, thank you all for having me. I will go back to explain how I even got the position with the city during the whole Freddie Gray uprising. I mean, I never imagined working for the city, but during the Freddie Gray uprising, I was pretty instrumental in my own right. There was no media coverage, of course, but I did go to a particular high school, Coppin Academy, and we rallied together and we did kind of a Know Your Rights campaign. It was very big. It was a very big time for me, and it kind of started defining who I am as a person. I've always felt I was an activist, but I really Being new to Baltimore, I've been here about 12 years. That was really it for me. I had a teenage son at the time. It was very impactful for me, what was going on. So I actually applied for a job in the police department. I said to myself, if I can just embed myself in that police department, I can fix it, in my mind, and figure out what's going on. So it was a compliance job that I applied for. And in the city, when you submit your application for a particular job in a category, they hold on to it for a while. So I didn't get that position. I was very discouraged. I was working at my husband's law practice at the time. I just wanted the job to fix an issue. I got a call about 9 months after that, and they were talking about the Minority Women's Business Opportunity Office needed a compliance officer. And so I thought at the time, okay, I'm working crazy hours at my husband's practice. Let me get a job. It's a 9 to 5, Minority Women's Business Opportunity. Okay, that's me. I can do that. I imagine going into work at 9 and actually leaving at 5 for the first time in my life, because I've never done that. And I stepped into a situation. I was looking forward to working with the chief at the time, who was Courtney Billups, and I started noticing there was a movement to push him out. And I apparently was interviewed to take his position, but I was not aware of that. So upon being named the acting chief in December of 2018, it was December of 2018, I was named the acting chief. Mr. Billups resigned, and I became the chief. So I started working there, looking at the rules, and to make a long story short, I recognized the office was falling short. All we were doing was certifying businesses at a rapid pace. Businesses that I discovered should have never been certified, should have been decertified. There's a size standard that we never really implemented, that I took to the board, that you have to take every year to make sure the company isn't too big. I started noticing there were just a lot of deficiencies. We had a lot of companies certified, but we also needed to do compliance on the contracts they were on, and we were never doing that. So I kind of changed the focus of the office, and my vision was just to follow the code, follow the rule. Make sure people were certified. We were investigating a lot of certified businesses, visiting their sites. They weren't really in the market area. And it's our duty, the law department, we were embedded in the law department. It's the duty of the law department to ensure the code is followed so that we can't be challenged in court. There's a constitutional challenge. A non-minority business can say they're getting these businesses, they're not even supposed to be certified. So I didn't want the program to be challenged. I started investigating a lot of things and just started uncovering the discriminatory practices the city conducts in awarding contracts was very alarming to me. The failure to staff the program. I mean, when I stepped in, they were reducing the program by 2 people, and so it was 4 of us, processing 700 to 800 certification applications a year, paper-based, no software. And also doing compliance on every city contract over $50,000, setting the goals for every city contract for over $50,000. It was very taxing work for 4 people to accomplish. So I followed the rule. That's all. That's basically what I did. Is I went line by line. I didn't reinvent anything, which is a lot of people get into positions and they kind of want to be the savior and come up with everything. But my methodology is see what's there first, enact what's there first. Follow it line by line first, then you can go and invent and create. And what I found is the city has never fully followed Article 3, Subtitle 28 of the Baltimore City Code, which is applicable to that office. We were enforcing code. We were not there to make friends. We were not there to, be the favorites of agency heads. We were there to enforce a code, not to be friends with contractors. So if you did not utilize the minority business to the amount that you were supposed to, you're supposed to get penalized.
Right.
And I imposed a penalty once. I did impose one penalty. It wasn't as much as I wanted, but politics planned. The politicians don't want to do that. I was constantly dragged in saying that they're going to end up with no contractors at the rate and the amount of penalties I had coming. And one of the penalties was you couldn't bid for a contract anymore with the city for up to 2 years. So I actually did enforce that with one contractor last year. That wasn't really publicized because I think they kind of wanted to sweep it under. And so that was it. I was basically following the rules. And I think a lot of those large companies are the big donors to a lot of these politicians. I was making maybe too much noise, and my leadership you know, what I found is people that want to secure their position and like their title more than they like the what they're supposed to do. They just like the title and the power. They're willing to sacrifice that and anybody else that's going to get in their way. So my whole methodology was I was about the people. Yes, I worked for the mayor. Yes, I worked for the city solicitor. However, when you look on top of the organizational chart, you see the people. And so if you are not working for the people, then you're not doing your job. And unfortunately, in Baltimore city government, more people are self-preserving themselves to keep their position and keep a paycheck and willing to sell out the people who are the masses in order to keep a title and a paycheck. And I just was not willing to do that. So I was quickly ushered out in September of last year. I just received a letter that said my services were no longer needed. Again, this was on the crux of me introducing software that was going to automatically penalize people. We were going to have more eyes on compliance. People were going to get paid, and if they weren't paid within 7 days, those primes were going to pay some damages. They're going to pay liquidated damages for every day they were late paying their subs. That money could be collected in the Minority and Women's Business Opportunity Office to build the minority businesses. It can go back to education. That was my vision. It going back to education, it going back to building some businesses up, building areas where we didn't have a lot of minority businesses. So, I had a vision, and I honestly believe I was let go because I had a vision, and there's just no vision in 100 North Holiday. There's no real vision. So I'm sorry. Go all day.
No, that's straight up, and I love it. Who was that direct report to?
I directly reported to Dana P. Moore, and I think she was, and Kim Morton had a lot to do with it, who was the chief of staff for the mayor. 2 weeks after I was let go, Mayor Young did call me and acted like he didn't know, which is beyond me. So I did report to Dana Moore, yes, and there were some. I believe, there's a certain strength that we have to have as a woman, as a Black woman in the workplace. And some people don't like that strength. They want you to do what they want you to do. They want you to just be a yes person. And that's just not who I ever was. So unfortunately, and it's very unfortunate for me to say that in the field I was in before, in the IT field, I worked for a lot of white men. And I didn't really have problems for the people that supervised me because I work a lot. I work very hard. I work very long hours. I don't believe in 9 to 5, honestly. And they took advantage of that. That made them look good. In this situation, this is the first time I've ever worked and directly reported to a Black woman in my entire career. And it was the worst experience I've ever had. I can tell you that. It was the worst experience I've ever had, unfortunately. And that's the truth.
So, Tamara, I have to ask this one question. I'm sorry, I have to ask this one question.
Mm-hmm.
Sounding out like this, being straight up and coming to it, do you think people will say this is sour grapes? And what would be your argument against that?
There's nothing sour about it. I was making less money working for the city than I was before I went. I actually, took that sacrifice. I took that hit. I wasn't supporting my husband's law practice. I'm not sour. I mean, it's been months. I am, well, you know what? I'm not going to lie. I am sour because the people are not getting the service that they are owed. So I would say I'm sour. I live in the city. I pay lots of taxes in the city. And so, of course, I'm sour. I see an injustice being done. I'm always going to be sour when I see injustice. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that I'm not sour. Absolutely, I am sour. It's not right. And when I see something that's not right, I'm going to speak out. I was known for doing that when I was there, and there was nothing sour then. And I'm going to do it when I'm gone. So I've been consistent, and consistency really, when you see a change in behavior, okay, but that's who I always was. If you look at some of the IG reports that were coming out, that was because I was uncovering corruption. That's because I spoke out against corruption. And anyone will tell you that that's what I did. I did my job, and I was very outspoken about the corruption going on.
Outstanding. Thank you.
We celebrate your courage. We thank you. We've waited so long for this interview. They have no idea, but we are so proud of you and your husband for standing strong. We wish we had more Black people like you to encourage us, because on the outside we fight and we fight. Marsha comes to tears sometimes because we tell the truth right here on the show, and people think we're crazy, but we're pointing out this very thing and we commend you. You have the courage of a Harriet Tubman on this day in Black History Month. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Some of the quick questions. One is, do you think by the mere fact that Jim Shea had actually started moving into the city solicitor's office around September, when I started smelling the rat, excuse me, I started smelling the opportunities of different folks going into the city solicitor office, might have had something, some sense of adjustment, some sense of readjusting you, because they recognize, obviously, Jim Shea, who didn't vote for the HBCU, who at the time he was the president of the higher education board, or the chairman, or whatever the name was, and it was also the lieutenant, with the governor, with Brandon Scott being the lieutenant governor, and he was coming in to literally replace this black woman. Do you think that you may have still been there if Miss Moore would have remained, or do you think that the writing was already on the wall?
Thank you for that. And that's something I considered. I know that, I'm going to be honest with you, because that's all I know, is Miss Moore and I did have, I think there was some personal issue at one point in, I think, the end of 2018. She kind of came up to me at the Board of Estimates and started yelling and screaming, and it was just a very unusual behavior for the workplace. And so I did ask her not to speak to me that way. And then from that point of me standing up for myself, in a sense, there were just some personal issues. I think that she did respect the work I was doing, because you have no choice but to respect. I was doing my job tenfold. I probably averaged 15-hour work days just about every day. I wasn't the city employee that just left. So I say all this to say that I did have, there were some issues. I did see that the other Black female attorneys weren't really treated fair in the law department at her hand. So I don't know that I would be there if she was still there. I did consider that perhaps the move was made with the old administration, so the new administration wouldn't be blamed for it because of the timing of it. I did think about that, Mr. Johnson, to see that, Brandon claims he did not know, but I do know if Brandon.
He knew. Don't worry about it. You ain't got to say it. He knew.
Right. I think that could have been. Yeah. I don't debunk that theory that perhaps it was a favor and they just moved me out because he wanted me gone. I don't.
Well, that's politics. We get that. The second question was, these waivers, constantly we're fighting and fighting. I mean, I'm too old for this now, but all of this fighting and fighting about these waivers. How would these waivers affect your performance or your job situation, and when you were in that capacity? So
most of the waivers that I saw were pre-existing waivers that, occurred well before my time, and they were just kind of like the renewal of the contract. The waiver was already there. I did stop just issuing waivers dead on. Sometimes I'd get a waiver and say, well, we did it last time. But if there was availability of an MBE and a WBE at the time that I got a waiver, then they didn't get a waiver. And I would write on there, no waiver. And I remember there was a contract where I wrote no waiver was going to be issued. But they'd already started proceeding and putting the contract out with no goals. And I'm like, you can't do that. So I think it was a waiver culture. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. When you look at the ransomware attack, how they brought in IT firms and people to do the work from outside of the city. I spoke to the director of BSIC who came in at the time, and, you can't do that. There are businesses here within the city that can do that work, but what you see is a free-for-all. You basically see the city's practices when they don't have to bid a contract, who they really want to do the work. When you look at the ransomware attack, when you look at the COVID situation, no waiver was needed. You didn't have to bid the work with all the PPEs they were ordering. They weren't ordering it from local minority businesses. What? It was absolutely. Yeah, those are things that I brought up constantly to the mayor's office. I brought to their attention that they'd spent millions of dollars at one point when COVID first happened. They were buying all the emergency supplies. They'd spent all of this money. There was no waiver needed. You didn't have to bid. We had minority businesses that could provide those services. They didn't include us in the chain. They didn't include
under a black mayor.
I brought that to Jack's attention.
Under a black mayor.
Yes, you did not have to bid that work, and I had at least 6 businesses, and I called them myself and said, Has the city contacted you to provide any of the PPEs or anything? No. Matter of fact, one lady said, you're the first person that's ever called me, and I've been certified for 13 years. I've never been called in 13 years. She never got any work. I got some work for her, but it really took, it takes like going behind people to figure out what was going on. I did not know they were making those purchases and not considering minority businesses. I know they weren't calling our office. So I'm sorry, I kind of diverted off for the waivers.
No, this is straight up.
We need to hear this.
This is straight up.
Absolutely. I asked for a list of all of the purchases to date, and I identified it was one minority business that was a restaurant owner that supplied some food. I think it was two out of, I think it was over $2 or $3 million at that time. They'd only used 2 minority and women-owned businesses that were in our directory. And so, I say that to say, even when waivers were allowed, or I always push for minority businesses. I would just say that. And the COVID response was atrocious. And I really brought that to their attention. And I was told to stop putting things in email about people's rights being violated and them not getting opportunities in case they were ever subpoenaed or part of discovery in some kind of, I was told to stop putting things in email. And
do you have copies of those emails?
I do have a lot of my emails. Yes.
All right, good. That's all I want to know. We'll have a conversation about this offline.
This right here is huge. My emails.
This is huge. This is
huge. Absolutely. When your leadership is saying, when Kim Morton tells me to not to stop putting things in email, and then my leadership is, Ms. Moore is telling me
she's a black woman.
Yeah,
that's Ralph Moore. That's Ralph Moore's wife.
Right.
The activist Ralph Moore.
No, not Dana.
Not Dana. You're talking about Kim Moore now.
No,
Kim Morton. That's a black woman.
Okay, Dana, I know who you're talking about.
Dana Peterson Moore is Ralph's wife.
Right.
But she's talking about somebody else.
Right. I'm sorry, Miss Brown.
What problem? Yeah, I have my receipts. Yes, I did.
Right.
It's nothing I'm making up. I'm a factual person, and anyone will tell you that. And I knew the push was coming. I was prepared to penalize some very big, popular contractors, and I knew it was coming. I knew by the tone of meetings I would have and things that were I knew it was coming. So I had to prepare myself for that. And that's what I did.
If I could just get this right in real quick.
That sounds like a lawsuit. That sounds like a lawsuit.
One of the questions I want to ask you, where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here we are today. We have this new administration, and like Doni says, another black mayor. And have you heard through your channels that your work is still being done, or has your work now found itself back in the cave where they usually put all of the black activist activity that works on now? So where are we at today, as far as you know?
So here's a disclosure. I don't have a channel, which is why I'm not in there anymore. I'm a person that came in and just got a job because of my resume. Don't know anybody, don't have any connections, didn't go to school with anyone. I'm just a person that works hard. But I can tell you that I looked at I actually commented in the Baltimore Business Journal recently, last week, on the recent audit of the MBE office. And what I can tell you is they're not using software that I worked very hard to finally get. That would fix this. You'd be able to go online and do your application online as for a certified business. So you'd be able to, so that work has stopped. For whatever reason, the city paid $62,900 for a 1-year license for B2G Now, which is software that most jurisdictions use when they have programs like this. It is compliance and certification software. It makes life easy. And for whatever reason, that audit report didn't mention the software. They're not talking about it. That was a fix. That was a huge push, and I was actually launching that in October, the training for the agencies.
What's that program again? I'm sorry.
It's called B2G Now. That is compliance software. So essentially what would happen is when a prime contractor was paid, their subs would get an email, and that 7-day window, which is in the law, would start clicking. And after 7 days, if they hadn't paid their subs, liquidated damages, and I hadn't set that amount. I was working on the actual amounts, because in Maryland you have to set the amount of a liquidated damage. You can't just come up with it.
Right.
That has been in the law probably since I was a child. I don't know how long the law has been around specifically. Well, since the 80s, I was a child, and no one ever set the liquidated damages, knowing that in the state of Maryland, in order to impose liquidated damages, you have to put it in the contractual languages, and the overarching language is in the contracts with the primes, but not the amount. So day by day, whether it's $100 a day or whatever, that had never been established. And
girl, this is really
so because they had
upsetting.
established
really
that, there's no accountability.
no, there's absolutely no.
And so there's nothing that they can use as a track because they're using paper.
Right.
Hey, Shield.
Oh yeah, we didn't find out a contract was non-compliant until I got a phone call from a sub that said they weren't being used. Or good morning, Mr. Shield. Good morning.
All right, Tamara.
We've just been joined by Attorney Bob DeShield.
Good morning.
We'll pull it up. Yeah, you got a lot of headroom up there. Mr. DeShields, if I'm not mistaken, when Mrs. Brown was going through those changes, you and other advocates were there at City Hall speaking up for her, or something to that effect. Weren't you down there?
I talked to Tamara about what happened, and I followed her desires with respect to the actions I took or didn't take.
Okay.
What does that
Mrs.
mean?
Brown.
That means I ain't
well,
gonna tell you unless she wants me to.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Bob. I don't. I'm an open book, so go ahead.
Come on, Mr. Bob. What happened?
So what does that mean?
Well, let me back up a sec. First of all, Tamara is the first person in that position to aggressively go after enforcement of the statute, and I'm going back 40 years.
That's a shame.
If you look at the proceedings that have been initiated before the Board of Estimates for enforcement of penalties or imposition of penalties for violations over the last 40 years, you won't find 5 cases. You won't find 5. Now that tells you that you can believe that every prime contractor in Baltimore for the last 40 years has implemented the program and done exactly what they were supposed to do.
No, they haven't.
Or and if you believe that, I've got plenty of Brooklyn bridges I can tell you.
Right. That ain't happening.
The fact is, see, there's a disconnect, Donnie. There's a disconnect between what the so-called leaders say and what their so-called people do.
Right.
And unfortunately, I've seen that disconnect more often with black mayors than I have with Schaefer or with O'Malley. The one thing I will say about Donald Schaefer, and I've never sat with the man to have a cup of coffee. He appointed me to a bunch of stuff, and I represented the city. But when Schaefer said do something, everybody from the secretary all the way to the top did it.
Right.
There were no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Black mayors have, under my experience, have been way too timid in their approach to black issues.
Why?
Training, education, degrees.
Scared?
Testicular fortitude. I don't care. Call it whatever you want. But they have been, but so they say they want to do it, but then the people down in the bowels of the agencies, sometimes even at the agency head level, but in the bowels of the agencies, don't do what they're accustomed to. They do what they're comfortable with.
Right.
And
we always did it that way. We've always done it that way, right?
Well, and I can relate to it because I've always been a fan of Mr. DeShield. He's always been on the front line. And I remember when Art Gray and all of us were working down in housing, we would always tell people, when these mayors come in and they cut the top, it was never the top that was running the show anyway.
Right.
It was all of us at middle management and, as you say, the bowels. When Martin O'Malley got in there, he understood that. So he went from the top all the way down to the middle and moved many of us. At that time, he moved Art and I to BDC and some of the brothers over there so we could just disappear when we did. But this is just so fascinating, Ms. Brown. And obviously, Mr. DeShield, I've always watched because I know his argument has always been about fairness. And I do agree with him. Most of the black mayors that I know, and I've worked for all of them except the last 2, have always seemed like they timid when it comes to black issues. Well, why do you think that's the case, Mr. Shield? Other than what we said, but at the big picture, is it about the money, the donations, that black folk just don't make enough noise?
Well, you know, I mean, there's so many issues, but there's one
Yes, sir.
critical for us, and that is ultimately the utter lack of respect for black people. That's really what it comes down to.
So it sounds like there's no respect for themselves, if that's what you're talking about.
Well,
Because the
respect,
reality is, how can
unfortunately,
you respect others if you don't respect yourself?
unfortunately, the respect that they have for themselves is a derivative.
Yeah.
In other words, if white folk, if they think white people respect them, then they respect themselves.
Right. How?
But
Right.
this-
Because white folks' water is
self-preserving.
colder.
It's
Pardon?
self-preserving behavior.
Of course it is. Marsha, you said it. You said it as plainly as anybody. That unfortunately, for the most part, the people that we've elected in the highest positions in this city, and period, really, all come in with one common belief, and that is that white folks' ice is colder.
So you got 5 black mayors, DeShield. We've had 5 black mayors.
Yes.
Why are we still talking about black businesses not getting their fair share of these contracts in this city? And the percentage of the people in this community are black. What is the problem?
Because we don't hold our leaders accountable. For us, unfortunately, we've been taught.
Let's sue the city. Let's sue the city. Let's sue the city.
Well, you know, the city has so insulated itself by law that it's nearly impossible. You can sue. I mean, you can sue anybody, but you're not going to win because the city has insulated itself in such a way that it's nearly impossible to find a judge in any level who will overturn a city decision. It's just unfortunate. But the fact is that, I mean, if you go all the way back to Du Burns, unfortunately, he was only there for a short period of time.
Right.
And frankly, we made some of the best decisions that were ever made in the city were made by a guy who ate chicken with his fingers and never went to college.
You talking about Du?
I'm talking about Du.
Right.
You know, the first black director of finance, people don't remember this, was Peggy. Peggy, what the heck was her last? What was her last name? Du appointed Peggy. Peggy, I can't. I'm looking at her.
Peggy Didakis?
Say it again.
Peggy Didakis?
No.
Oh.
A black woman named Peggy. Somebody will think of it. But anyway, she went up. O'Malley kept her, and he took her with him to Annapolis when he became governor. She was the first. She was someone who never would have gotten that position had it not been for a black mayor who ate chicken with his fingers and never went to college. Unfortunately, well, I'll stop there. What Tamara has said about every black mayor since that I know has come to rely on the city solicitor for advice on everything. So when you look at it, so if you look at who the city solicitor has been under black mayors, you will come a long way to finding the cause of the problem as it relates to the enforcement of the MBE laws. All you got to do is look at who the city solicitor has been, and you'll find the answer to that query.
So maybe we need to get Jim Shea on here to talk about. He's the new city solicitor. Is that correct?
Jim Shea is the new city solicitor. He was the managing partner at Venable. And there's a lot of history. Ralph Tyler also comes from Venable. Ralph Tyler was Martin O'Malley's city solicitor. Ralph Tyler was Martin O'Malley's insurance commissioner. Ralph Tyler, the relationship between Ralph Tyler and Martin O'Malley is and Venable and Jim Shea it's all part of a package deal.
Right. And I understand that in that process, O'Malley is Brandon comes under O'Malley's edict, right? From what I understand.
There are all kinds of
one of his mentors.
There's all
can
kinds
I interject really quickly just to make one comment on the black ice not being cold? We saw what happened in Georgia. Okay. We have cold ice. We just have to get together. And just because our politicians look like us, and just because we don't have to turn anything from red to blue, does not mean we are not supposed to take the same approach, strategize, organize, and ice them out. That's the bottom line. We cannot get comfortable. Just because our leaders look like us does not mean they're working for us. Our votes count. We've seen it. We saw it in this election, and Baltimore is too comfortable.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say. We have got to start. Don't organize the year of the election. Don't organize the year before the election.
Girl.
We know what we want.
Tell them.
We know what we need, and we cannot be comfortable and complacent because it's a democratic city with Black people in the city.
I like
Knock
you.
them out. That's
You're
all.
damn
That's
right.
our
want
ice
you from
is
there.
cold. Our ice is
Mrs.
cold.
Brown for mayor. Mrs. Brown for mayor. Let me
Yeah.
get a word. May I get a word in?
They're taking us for granted, and it's time that we get together and show them who we are. This city is 54% Black. Come on.
But Tamara, the they is we. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We are our problem.
Right.
We don't hold we don't hold each other accountable.
We allow it.
Mr. Shields, why do you think I was fired? I
know why you were fired.
Okay.
Why
was she fired?
Because she pushed the envelope too far.
And who fired me?
Who fired her? Counselor.
The decision to terminate Tamara, I believe, was made by the city solicitor at that time.
Okay. That's all I want to hear. And that is a person, a Black woman, who was supposed to be the first Black female city solicitor if they'd ever taken her to the city council. So therein lies the problem. Rather than seeing someone that works hard, a young Black woman, and mentoring and bringing each other up, okay, you're knocking the future down. Why would somebody do that? And then you have to ask yourself, Brandon was aware of that. Why are you in an equity position in civil rights when you don't even know how to treat your own people?
Whoa!
I'm just asking. And I understand there's connections and people know these people. Look, I don't know anyone. Bob will tell you I'm very proud of that. I don't know anybody. I am who I am. But I'm not going to hold my tongue, and I'm not known for holding my tongue, and I've never been known for holding my tongue. So you have to look at that and look at that behavior and see who gets elevated in City Hall and who gets pushed out. There's a lot of meaning to that. There's a lot of meaning.
We have some comments online. I got to share the comments.
Go ahead.
Richard McClaren, B2G now is a majority firm. It's an okay product. I prefer Prism Software by Early Morning Software. Alexis Co says we need a Marion Barry or Maynard Jackson as mayor of Baltimore.
Right.
Alexis says because the real estate developers control the politicians. Richard McClaren says the Shields is speaking the truth. And he also says they all say Mrs. Brown for mayor of Baltimore.
That's right.
You guys are trying to get me in traffic somewhere because that could never happen. The real powers that be, the big boys would never allow it. Me to become a mayor.
There's the only big boy I know.
But Stacey Abrams, if she proved anything, she proved that the big boys can be beaten.
Right.
Yes, they can.
The big boys can be. The big boys.
Baltimore's a fear culture. They've created this fear culture, and we are afraid to unite. Do you know how powerful the city could really be? People say, when I moved to Baltimore, my family's like, "Are you out of your mind?
So
what is wrong with you?
Start the movement, Tamara.
What is wrong with you?
I
love Baltimore.
Start the movement, Tamara.
I kind of disagree that we're afraid to unite. I think that what has happened, I think Robert Shield has said exactly. I think that Robert Shield has said exactly what is to be said. Is that the problem is that we all have these different fractions. Until we organize to organize, all we're going to have is a bunch over here and a bunch over here and a bunch over here. So
I disagree. You got people getting paid to shut up and people paid to turn their heads. People who say they love Black people, but they lying and they should be kicked in their hind parts.
And that's maybe a way to do it. But I just believe that to get behind the work that Mr. DeShield do, to get behind the argument that Ms. Brown does, and the constant way that we need to organize. The problem is you have a group of people, age differences, who are now getting into office, and they're getting into office based on a campaign they ran, not about the work they've done in the community. So I'm just saying that, no, I think that we're not afraid. I just don't think that we've been able to organize because of the different fractions. And white folk are just as responsible for these different fractions as well as black folks as well. But I do
How do you
agree. I
organize them
agree,
then, Michael? How do you organize them then, Michael? What is it that you need
you
to
got to
do?
have
Give
a
me
common, anybody knows you have to have a common thread. If you don't have a common thread, then you got nothing. If this is
Look
the
at this
common,
thread. We have a common thread.
right,
Right.
I'm
We're
saying
all black.
if
This
this
is a
is
black
the
city.
common, Miss Brown, as much as I think I know things, I knew nothing about what you were saying. And my ex-wife used to work over there, and of course I wasn't gonna get no information from her.
But
But
I started thinking that there was some, I don't know why people don't leave the city and speak out. It's beyond me. I mean, it's so, if you guys knew half of the things that I knew and I saw and I dug into and discovered, it's mind boggling. Like sometimes I would be in tears out of frustration.
Because just like we've heard several times on this program, people have recognized the cliquish culture in Baltimore, and you are an outsider. You are someone who is not, born and raised in Baltimore. I was not born and raised in Baltimore.
The clique is not always born and raised. The clique in Baltimore is not always born and raised.
True. But being able to be from the outside looking in gives you a completely different perspective. And she's coming from a place where, as she stated, she's not afraid to call people out on their crap. To call them out on what they're not doing and to hold them accountable. And that's where the challenge is. If we're afraid of what they're going to do coming back to us, getting in an accident, in traffic or, something happening, if that's the thing.
Let's be clear. Let me just be
then
clear.
We will hold back.
Let me just be clear. Bob Clay, one of the greatest black advocates for business in the city, was said to have committed suicide. The only thing is, he was right-handed, and the bullet went into the left side of his head. When you think of Sade Badenoir, the TV news reporter for Channel 11, she went to New York City. There was some talk of some baby, possibly by Martin O'Malley. Next thing you know, she was going through the air like Superman, like, whoa. And then you look at Sean Suter. Nobody I know believes he committed suicide the day before he was to testify before the Gun Trace Task Force, even though they're now saying something about drugs and the FBI. Why are they just putting this out here now? So this city is very suspect when it comes to unapologetically black people, Mr. DeShields.
When I say we don't hold each other accountable, that's exactly what I mean, because we didn't define for ourselves what it even means to be black. See, to white folk, any non-white darker than them is black, and we've accepted that and we run with it. But as Tamara said a second ago, just because you look like me don't mean you're the same as me.
Right.
And we've got a lot of identity theft going on out there.
Oh boy.
So I mean, we know
we got a lot of
doing?
identity theft going on. Think about this for 1 second. Tamara brought made this point. You had the first black female city solicitor in the history of Baltimore. You have a black mayor. What would it take? What would be the
black female mayor?
Yeah. Why would you? Now I'm talking about the black male mayor, but why would you? What factors would come into play that would cause you to wipe out that historic event and put in her place an aged, retired, white managing partner of a local law firm? Why would a black mayor do that?
Well,
but more importantly, why has nobody said anything about it?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. You haven't heard a peep about it. If this had happened, well, it wouldn't have happened under Maynard Jackson. It wouldn't have happened under
all.
It wouldn't have happened under Coleman. It wouldn't have happened in a lot of places. But nobody.
Harold Washington, none of them.
Did anybody
Bradley
from this round table speak up about it? Did anybody from the Black Chamber of Commerce speak up about it? Has the Urban League said anything, or the NAACP? Has anybody said anything? Has he even asked the question, why do you move a black woman, the first and only ever in the history of Baltimore, to put in an aged, retired, managing white partner from Venable as city solicitor? Why would you do that?
Because there's something bigger than what you're talking about right now happening behind the doors.
Yes.
Well, you know that
Mrs. Brown, you were
$200,000.
attempting to make a comment.
At the dinner
Okay,
table.
Mrs. Brown was speaking. Mrs. Brown wanted to make a comment before Bob.
Bob, I understand. I did see something with that, with the acting, actually acting first black acting female city solicitor, why she was not nominated. But you know, as you understand, you know, for a person that fired me, that did not ever support the program the way I thought it should be supported, I can't support that. You know, just because she was a black female does not mean that was the right black female for that position.
No. I'm not saying that either.
Right. Right. And so deals were made. And when you know, as a city solicitor, I feel like I understand you work for the mayor, but you know, a good city solicitor, a good solicitor or anybody is going to call you on your stuff, you know. And when you're just an okay person, and yeah, look, I just want my title. Right. I just want that paycheck. I'm gonna just say yes to whatever you're doing. I'm never gonna check your chin. Then we got a problem. We got a fundamental problem. And so there's a lack of respect there for somebody that does that. And that's why you saw the move that you saw and saw it happen the way that it did. Because when she was in that position, she was a yes person. She was doing whatever they wanted her to do. So I'm sorry, but that's the reality of it. That's the reality of it. If you were doing that job and you were so great and spectacular, you'd be in that position today.
I'm just surprised at this. I know Dana. I'm just surprised that she was functioning at that.
To know somebody and to work with somebody and to work for someone is two totally different things.
Right.
And
I'm hearing a whole different conversation here. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I was surprised because when I first came in, I thought, wow, here's this black woman. I've never worked for a black woman before. I know my work ethic. I know my might. I know what I'm capable of doing. And nobody in that building is ever going to tell you they didn't see me there on Saturday, Sunday, Monday night, Tuesday. I was always working. You know, I take pride in my work. And for another black woman not to take that under her wing, I initially thought that's what it was going to be. I saw a different side when I first came in. It was almost a fake side.
So when you first started, did you all have a meeting and set down some like a whole overview of what she saw and her vision and how to implement the vision and the things that she saw that were maybe questionable and how to put them in place? Did you go through all that when you started the new job?
When I started the new job and my interview for the position, I actually had a 30, 60, 90-day plan. I came in prepared. My interview was my plan. So that was presented to them. They knew what I wanted to do.
But she was part of that team, or
they got that slide. They knew what my plan was. Follow the rule, follow the law. And I can tell you, when I worked for Solicitor Davis, when Davis was in charge, we may have had some disagreements on, you know, fundamental disagreements, but I always asked him, Judge Davis, do you want me to do this job? You know, because if you want me to do it, I'm going to do it, and I'm really going to do it, and it's not going to be pretty. He would allow me to do my job. He allowed me to do my job. Regardless of his thoughts, he always allowed me to do my job. I started feeling the proverbial knee on my neck after a while. So when there was a transition to Ms. Moore, I did send an email to say, look, I see some disconnects. To try to resolve the situation, what is your vision? What do you see? What is it that you'd like for me to prioritize? Because we were having some disconnects. What is it that you like? I never received a response to that email. I can tell you, I have my emails. I tried and tried and tried.
You didn't meet with her? She wouldn't meet with you?
No, we had meetings.
But you didn't discuss that at the meetings?
So I don't think it was about the job I was doing. Okay. It was certainly could not have been about the job I was doing. No one's going to tell you it was about the job I was doing. It's just,
but I guess about the vision.
Marcia, if may.
I want to ask my question because in a normal corporate or whatever environment, you have a leader, the president, the CEO, whoever is the top director. That person normally sits with you and goes through your goals and your objectives, the expectations for the position. I've been in corporate for years. That's fine. Process. So that's what I'm asking.
That's fine.
I'm asking the person who reported to her.
Okay, well, I'm answering your question. I'm
not ask you to ask my question. I want Ms. Brown to ask me my question.
But I want to share for the sake of the listeners on this show that when Freddie Gray did happen, there was a meeting in Sandtown. about Freddie Gray. I saw Dana Moore there. I raised questions. First of all, who the hell is No Boundaries? And who are all of these white people in No Boundaries having a meeting on Pennsylvania Avenue? And Dana Moore told me, oh, Donnie, stop your questions. So I know exactly what she's talking about. Maybe you don't. I do. Thank you.
Can I say something about the position of city solicitor and how it's been handled over the last 30, 40
Thank
years?
you.
Unfortunately, every city solicitor that I'm aware of has come to the point where they thought their client was the mayor and not the mayor and city council of Baltimore. You see, the city is the mayor and city council of Baltimore as an entity. It's not the mayor. Every city solicitor, however, has always taken it to be their job to report, to protect, and
well, their paycheck says the mayor and the city council. That's what your paycheck says.
Yeah, quite frankly, in my opinion, one of the worst city solicitors we ever had was Judge Andre Davis. Now you ask me why. Who came out with the opinion that they had to maintain the gag order so that nobody could know about police settlements? They couldn't talk about the settlement they got. Who came out with a position that the city couldn't enforce the consent decree as it should be because it would cost the city too much money? If the city would cost the city too much money to pay all these people because of police brutality, rather than simply saying the answer is not to shut people down and put a gag order. The answer is to get rid of the cops who are committing the unlawful acts.
Right.
See,
right.
I don't know that Solicitor Davis introduced the gag order. I think there was a policy that was.
He defended the city in a lawsuit against the civilian police board. I forget what it's called, but they wanted to get reports that on the cops who were bad. He said they couldn't see them, and he defended the city's position on that. So I mean, our problem. We are our worst corruption. We are our worst problem.
So what do we do about it, Mr. DeShield? We just sit here, and when
there is something
retiring,
about it, and we're doing something about it right now. We're hopefully educating some people who didn't know some things about what really goes on inside of city government. And
I haven't even uncanned half of it.
Well, you may not. And this probably isn't a book to be, Tamara. Sounds like a book, girl. This probably isn't the forum for you to do that. Maybe there's some other places where you need to share more.
Like a book.
Maybe so.
If the public is watching, I mean, why not? The people are the ones that pay those paychecks, and the people are the ones that are suffering at the hands of some of this. So what forum would it be? What forum do you suggest?
We talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk to your attorney later.
So the question,
my attorney is here with me. My attorney is here with me.
Right.
Yeah, her attorney is her husband.
Question for you then, Tamara, with all that you've shared and all that you have experienced in the past, and I love your fire, I love your directness, I love your honesty and your fearlessness. So what are your plans for the future? Where are you going to go with this from now? I mean, you're in the process of getting your attorney's license, and so we're looking forward to that.
Yes.
As that's coming forward.
So of course I'm going to support my husband and his practice, but I just want I'm not out of this fight. I know too much about what's going on with the city. I plan on challenging everything that they bring that's not right for the minority and women's business community. I'm going to be a part of the change. As a matter of fact, I'm actually glad I'm not there. I've seen enough, and sometimes your purpose, is served. And I interned for Elijah Cummings, and he said, turn your pain into passion, and turn your passion into purpose. And I needed to know what my purpose was. That's all that was for. I can't be controlled in the manner that I was for such a responsibility that I had. Right. And so now that, I always joked and said the worst thing they could do is let me out of here. And so I'm out, and I'm going to fight, and I'm going to bring light to the situation, and I'm going to die trying to fix it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here more than ever. And this problem is going to get fixed, or I'm going to shed a lot of light on a lot of things.
Miss Brown, this sounds like some sort of institute. You need to get that law degree and pass the bar. And
law degree, I just need to pass the bar.
Pass the bar. And this sounds like an institute that you need to create that you can funnel all this madness through, girl. You go
It's
ahead.
like
I'm
the
really
next
proud of you.
mayor of Baltimore to me. That's what it sounds like to me. You don't need
Say it
no
again.
damn law. You need some common sense and a testicular fortitude to call a spade a spade.
The intestinal fortitude. My father, that's what, yes, intestinal fortitude is everything.
Yeah, for her, it's intestinal, not testicular.
Right. Okay. I got to go, guys. Have a
too.
wonderful day. Miss Brown, thank you. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for just sitting here and telling us the truth. And you just keep working
sure.
and know that we're here to support you. Thanks,
That's all I know.
everybody.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nice to meet everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Is it okay that I reach out to one of the folks and get your contact number and call you?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Bye-bye. Thank you, Doni.
Thank you very much. We're proud of you, and I vote for you for mayor of Baltimore.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
You know, yesterday, Mr. DeShields, I was asked by someone close to me, Donnie, why are you always calling out people? That's my job, Mr. DeShields. And you know, we don't get many thanks. We don't make many friends at City Hall, but this is my passion. My passion is doing news, doing media. This is a story we've waited so long to do, and we just commend Mrs. Brown and Mr. Brown for having the heart and courage to be real right here, unapologetically Black on the BlackUSA.News morning show. Up to date, down tomorrow. Do your day and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it, regardless of how I feel. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper. Good morning.
Good morning, Black USA.
See ya.